Everyone needs sugar, but maybe not the kind of sugar that you're thinking of. Ever heard that sugar is bad for us? Well, is it really? Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Sheri Taylor. Thanks for joining me. So, sugars, are they good, bad, or indifferent? When I was in nursing school, when we thought about sugars, we thought about direct sugars like candy bars or the white refined sugar or maybe even brown sugar and things like syrup, something that is directly, the sugar. And we were always taught to stay away from it. However, when I was in nursing school, we always needed that boost of sugar to give us that energy rush to get through our studies. And when we're cramming for a test, what did we go for? We went for the sugar and the caffeine to keep us awake all night studying for that awful nursing exam. And so then when we got into the teaching element of it, as far as teaching our patients who have diabetes what to do and what not to do, that's exactly what we focused on. We focused on, don't do the chewing gum, hard candy, don't eat candy bars, don't drink sodas. But that's not all that's dealing with sugars. And there are so many hidden sugars that it took me 20 years as a nurse educator to figure it out. And I was the world's worst because I kept thinking, I don't eat a lot of sweets. I don't crave a lot of sweets. So I must be good. My sugars are okay. It wasn't until I came down with type 2 diabetes that I realized, something's wrong. I'm not getting the point. And I had to do some education for myself and do some research to see, why are my sugars going up when I'm not the one eating a piece of cake or a piece of pie with dinner? I'm not drinking the Cokes. So what's going wrong with my diet that I'm ingesting so much sugar that I'm now type 2 diabetic? Now, type 1 and type 2 diabetes, both of them have a problem with metabolizing carbohydrates and sugars. So if you don't know what carbohydrates are, carbohydrates turn into sugars. We'll get into that probably later on in another lesson, but I just want you to know that sugar is not always just what we think of as that bag of white sugar that we're putting on stuff. So carbohydrates are what you want to look at when you're looking at labels. Both carbohydrates turn into sugars, and then the sugars have to go somewhere. We use sugar for fuel. That is our number one fuel source that we're taught to use. That's not our only fuel source, and that's going to be in another lesson as well. But for sugar as a fuel source, yes, it's a good instant fuel source that's for that moment. So you eat sugar, you get that high, and you get that rush, but then after that, you get a crash. And if you don't burn that sugar, it's got to go somewhere. So where do you think it's going? It goes into our cells of our body and is stored as fat. So if you're not doing some sort of exercise or aerobic activity, guess what? You're packing on the fats. You're feeding those fat cells, making them plump, and that's what we call adipose tissue in our body. So again, if you're eating sugars and you're not burning them and using it for fuel, like cardiovascular working out, then it's not going to work for you. It's going to store as fat, which is exactly what happened to me. But mine was not direct sugars. Mine was in the form of carbohydrates like pasta, bread, rice, potatoes, things this Southern girl loves. But I had to pull back a little bit and reduce the amount of carbohydrates I was taking in, because for my situation being type 2 diabetic, I had to get my sugars, not only my fasting sugars or my sugars after every meal, but my A1C, which is our reading that we do that tells our average sugars over the last 3 months. I needed to get those numbers down, or I was going to become dependent on diabetic medication for the rest of my life. And in my research, I found that if we can control the sugars and the carbohydrates, reduce them a little bit more than what we're doing now, slow and steady, don't go cold turkey, don't do any drastic diet changes, just be more conscientious to reading your labels and picking the food that's a better option of carbohydrates and sugars for you. Just make those little subtle changes, then that's going to help bring those numbers down. And eventually it could actually cause your doctor to reduce your medication that you're on for the diabetes. Now, type 1 diabetics, it's a totally different story, so hear me out on this. Yes, you can make your sugar levels better, but you may not come off of your medication. Type 1 diabetics, you're born with a situation that your body cannot metabolize the carbohydrates, or there might be an insulin resistance that your body can't do it alone, and you have to have that medication. Type 2 diabetics, unfortunately, y'all, me and you, we created that monster. We weren't born with a problem. We created it. How did we create it? By being lazy and not working out, and by eating the wrong kinds of foods. And so those habits that we created over time aren't going to go away instantly. So you cannot expect a quick fix. You've got to make small adjustments. So we're going to talk about those adjustments. Did you know that 1 out of 3 people have pre-diabetes? What does that mean? That means that you can go to the doctor, get your lab work done, and they say, oh, your sugars are fine. And you're like, yay, okay, I'm not diabetic. You may have a family history of it. You may have heard that there's a predisposition for it, but you think everything's great because you're in the pre-diabetic phase, so you think that you don't have to watch what you do or what you eat. The first time I ever heard of pre-diabetes was when I was pregnant with my first child. She happened to be a very large baby. So whenever you have large babies and you gain a lot of weight during your pregnancy, that increases the risk of you being gestational diabetic with any other pregnancy, which with my second child became gestational diabetic with him, another big baby. And I also used my pregnancy as a reason to eat anything and everything I wanted. I was like, pregnant woman coming through, give me the buffet, and I'm going to eat whatever I want. And nobody ever better said anything to me when I was pregnant, because I was like, no. Pregnant women are hormonal anyway, and so don't try and tell her she can't have her food. No, that's dangerous. You got more than diabetes to worry about when that happens. So anyway, that's the first time with the second child that I was told I had gestational diabetes. I was able to control it with diet alone during the pregnancy, but little did I know that that was setting me up for later in life. Nobody educated me on what does that mean to have gestational diabetes. I just thought, okay, I've got it, have the baby, lose the weight, it goes away. That's not the case. The risk is still set up for you later in life. So then when I hit the 40s, guess what? That's when the diabetes started really surfacing. The diabetes, the high blood pressure, high cholesterol, it's all tied in together. Had someone educated me the way they should have in the medical field, that's my little pet peeve right there. We need to educate people because you need to be proactive for yourself. Nobody else is going to do it. Nobody's going to pay your medical bills. Nobody's going to pay for your prescriptions. You've got to want to be proactive for yourself. You've got to do your due diligence and research. However, you can't believe everything you hear on the website either. Just because it's on Facebook doesn't mean it's true. And so we have to kind of look into books, magazines, go to your good resources. One of my dear colleagues and somebody that I really, really follow a lot is Dr. Jeff Volek, because he researches what's going on with diabetes and low carbohydrates in your diet. And so anytime he publishes something, I'm like jonesing to get my hands on that article because I want to read what he has to say about it. I'll be sure to put some links to some articles so you can do some research. If you're that type of person that really wants to study, then I'll try and put some up for you as well. And feel free again to ask me any questions. Email me, Sheri at renewwithsheri.com. Just email me and I'll get you all the resources you want. I love it, being an educator and also doing it for my health and wellness. I'm going to be a geek about it when it comes to studying about the diabetes and sugars, because that's the problem that I'm personally dealing with. So, foods that can help you. There are some things you can do right now in the grocery store. You don't have to go to spend a lot of money at a health food store. Just minor changes in your diet can help you out tremendously. So let's talk about some of those good changes. Did you know that cinnamon, I know that I've read before, cinnamon's great for blood pressure, but cinnamon is great for lowering your sugars and for helping with that insulin resistance. And one of the cinnamons that I really love is called Ceylon, Ceylon. Now that you may have to go to like the health food section of your grocery store to find that cinnamon, but that cinnamon is a very good digestive cinnamon. And so simply by adding a pinch of cinnamon to maybe your sweet potato, or a pinch of cinnamon in your coffee. I like to do the cinnamon in my coffee with some creamer and then get me some kind of natural sugar, and and it just really ramps up the flavor of that coffee, makes it more like a latte, but you're making it at home and you know that it's helping your sugars and your blood pressure. So Ceylon cinnamon would be one of my top things that I would say go get, because you have opportunities to add cinnamon to different things. The other thing that I like is garlic, despite the fact that it gives me bad breath or maybe comes out in my sweat, makes me stink a little bit. Garlic's good. So if you're single out there, go find you a guy that likes garlic too and you're good, okay? But garlic is going to help. Garlic's also a good flavoring agent when you're cooking. And so you're not having to add those barbecue sauces that have the extra sugars in it. You can create your own flavors with some good pink Himalayan salt, some garlic, some butter that's really good sweet cream butter, but it's not margarine. We'll talk about margarine in another lesson as well, because margarine's not so great. And we'll talk about why. So anyway, garlic, definitely. Have you ever tried pine nuts? I never tried pine nuts, and then one time I went to Las Vegas. I went to Bobby Flay's restaurant. If y'all don't know Bobby Flay, you're missing out, because this dude knows how to flavor his food. And I got this tuna. It was like a tuna steak, but they had pine nuts on it. I didn't know what I was eating, but boy, when they had those roasted pine nuts and I tasted them, I was like, oh, this is killer. But I would have never known to buy them in a grocery store. I wouldn't know how to fix them. And so I started researching, and then I noticed that in some of the hummus, they have the pine nut hummus, and they'll have some of those pine nuts sprinkled in there as well. So if you haven't tried pine nuts are also very good. You can sprinkle them in salad. You can put them on your meat and your vegetables. It gives a little added crunch, and it's got a good flavor to it. You don't want to do a whole lot, though, because then it's really a pine taste. You can overdo it. So you're just going to have to play around with it and get creative. Avocados. I used to love avocados, and as a nurse over the years, I built up a latex allergy. And most of the time in the hospitals now, we don't use latex gloves, but it's kind of like a bee sting. The more you're exposed to it, then you can create an allergy. Well, lo and behold, I have a latex allergy now in my 40s, and avocado comes from the same family as the rubber tree, the banana tree, the plantains, and so I can't eat them anymore, and it drives me crazy because I love avocados and guacamole. Avocados are absolutely fabulous, not only for helping your insulin, but giving you the good fat that you need in your body that's not going to raise your cholesterol, that's not going to clog your arteries, it's going to help with inflammation, Lots of good things. So if you like avocados, keep doing it because they are awesome for you. If you've never tried them, I would suggest go to Pinterest. Man, there are ladies that have nothing else to do than create great recipes on Pinterest. And it could get you motivated to find different things to do with avocados. The other thing is, good sugars can come from our fruits, but sometimes you can have too many sugars even in our fruit. So the fruit that you kind of want to hang around with are your berries, like your blueberries, blackberries, raspberries. They have what's called, let me see if I can say it right, anthocyanins. Yeah, that's a big word. All you need to know is that's a nutrient that helps with digestion, that is going to help with your sugars, with your insulins. Okay, so you don't have to remember that big word. I can barely pronounce it. But just know that your blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, strawberries, those are where you need to be. They are lower in sugar, but they still have that good sweetness to them that can, if you're having a sugar craving, it could fix that for you. When you start getting into like your pineapple, your watermelon, things like that, those are very high in natural sugars. And sometimes diabetics can't handle that. Pineapples were my go-to. Pineapples and grapes were my favorite fruit of all time. And I kept thinking I'd get up in the morning and I'd eat some cottage cheese and I'd eat my fruit. And I couldn't understand why my sugar was spiking because I'm like, I'm eating healthy. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Why is my sugar going up? And it was because my type 2 diabetes did not react well with the natural sugars. And if I wanted fruits, I needed to drop down to the lower end of the natural carbohydrate and sugar fruits. So that's our blueberries, but also our cherries. And if you like the tart cherries, those tart cherries are in the same family as the blueberries with the good nutrients in it. Also, the cherries and the blueberries, they have good fiber. And so anytime you've ever been told that you need to increase fiber in your diet, that's going to be your go-to fruits. So that's what, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 things that I gave you, that just those small adjustments right there are going to move you in the right direction. And we haven't even talked about cutting out things. It's not a negative. We're staying positive. So your mindset, you've got to not feel like you're depriving yourself from something. You want to embrace and find other things that you love that maybe you didn't know you loved. You got to explore a little bit. Make changes, but not for the negative, for the positive. We're going to take a minute to view our sponsors and thank them. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Meet Shelley. She can make a Labradoodle look like, well, either one. And she's a marketer. Shelley uses constant contact email to spread the word about her services, whether it's staying in touch with her regular customers or reaching brand new ones. It works for Shelley, and her clients are delighted. Shelley's a marketer, and all it took was constant contact. Try it free.
Visita provides a complete business calendar, fully integrated with your client scheduling experience. You can view and manage your daily schedule and any upcoming meetings, and most importantly, schedule new appointments and follow-ups with your clients. Using Visita Calendar for client scheduling will save you time and deliver a better service to your clients. Visita Calendar automatically syncs with your existing calendar on Google, Outlook, iPhone, and more.
Welcome back, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors because without them this wouldn't be possible, so thank you very much. And also, if you want to contact me, I know I've mentioned it before, simply email me at Sheri@renewwithsheri.com. You can send me emails, questions, tell me your story, tell me your progress you're making, anything goes, just message me. I want to hear from you. Okay, so don't forget to send the emails to me. If you want to visit our website, it's renewwithsheri.com. So feel free to go to the website as well. So back to the sugars. How are we going to read some of these labels, and what other kind of foods can I buy, and do I have to make any other drastic changes? One of the key things when you're reading labels, let's not focus so much on the fats and the carbs and the calories. Let's don't focus on that. Let's just go straight to the ingredients. Because if you're going, oh, I'm going to get this bologna because there's no sugar in this bologna. Well, that's a bunch of baloney, because if you go to the ingredients, you're looking for the words that end in ose, O-S-E. Glucose, fructose, sucralose. You get my point here? So anytime you see those words that end in O-S-E, somebody stuck some sugar in there. Wherever they got it from, I can't answer that. I'm not the expert on that. I just know that when I go to the labels, if there's something that I want to eat, I turn it over and I look for those oses, and if I see them, I'm going to go, oh, no, no, we're not going there. And I'm not going to buy that food. Your safest bet when you're in the grocery store is to stay on the outer perimeter into the fresh fruits and vegetables, and then on the back side or outer side where you've got your meats and stuff, that's going to be your safety zone. Anything that's up and down the aisles in the middle, that's what we call processed food. And processed means man manipulated it some way, shape, or form. And you know, when man starts manipulating something, we get in trouble. You know, no pun intended for you guys out there, but that's just the way it is. Supplements. Let's talk about, do I need to do any added supplements that's going to boost or help my sugars reduce or my insulin to work better in my body? There are a couple of supplements that you can implement in along with your diet. I'm going to talk about two specific ones. Magnesium is going to be one of them. I love my magnesium. I have magnesium in my multivitamin, but then I take an extra 250 milligrams in the evening. Magnesium is going to help with lowering blood pressure as well as aiding in stabilizing your insulin levels. So it's a twofold thing. Also, magnesium helps you to rest a little bit better, so that's why I take it in the evening. Chromium can also be found in your multivitamins, and there are supplements for chromium out there. Now, chromium, it's a little bit more scientific what chromium's doing, but essentially, in easy to put terms, it's going to pull glucose out, and it's going to help your body use that glucose for energy. Okay, so chromium, you'll see that in a lot of diet pills. When you go to like a counter at the grocery store where they're selling all these different, lose weight, appetite suppressants and things like that, you're going to see that one of the ingredients is chromium in there. And that's because it's going to help stimulate your body to use glucose for fuel, which is going to give you more energy, make you more active, and also tends to help suppress your appetite. What I'm going to say next, though, is both magnesium and chromium can counteract or interfere with some of the medications that you're taking. So I'm not going to tell you to go out and buy those without talking to your doctor first, because I don't know what medications you're taking, and I don't know if there's going to be an interference. If you're just taking your average multivitamin every day and it has those two things in it, you're safe. But to go buy extra on top of it, I don't know that I would do that first without talking to your doctor. So that's what you need to do. You hear me on that, right? I'm not going to have you come back saying, well, Sheri told me to do this, because I didn't. So magnesium and chromium are great, but doctor approval first. So now let's talk about a game plan for you. When you get through watching this, you're going to say, okay, well, what do I do now? That was some good information, but I have no idea what to do. Well, first things first, you're going to drink your water. That's first. Your body needs that water. You've got to keep yourself from getting dehydrated. It's going to aid in metabolism. So no matter what you eat, when you drink water, it's going to help you. Even if you are bad and eat the wrong things, drink some water. Okay? Water's just good for you. So that's a simple thing you don't have to make major adjustments with. The second thing is focus on substituting. So now be more conscientious. Switch those things, like I said, the pineapple and the grapes that have higher sugar. Switch those out for some strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, or even mangoes. If you like mangoes, I didn't mention that before, but mangoes are actually good for you as well. They're all fiber rich. They have antioxidants in them. Just overall good for your insulin and sugar levels. And not to mention, it's going to help you get a little full, and it's not going to be high on the caloric intake as well. So a great way to start your day or to snack throughout your day on those fruits. The other thing is you can focus on your vegetables. What kind of vegetables would you eat? Well, the vegetables that help the most with your sugars and your insulin are going to be the green leafy vegetables. Your spinach, your kale, your broccoli, those types of things. Even yellow squash is good. Those are all fiber rich, and they all have antioxidants in them as well. It's a win-win situation to ramp up those types of things in your diet. And not to mention, all those green leafy vegetables have great amounts of magnesium in it. So do you need a magnesium supplement in addition to your multivitamin? Not necessarily, because you can get it from your food intake. The next thing that you want to focus on is avoiding those fried and processed foods. Most of the time when we're frying foods, we're not frying in good fats. We're frying in like vegetable oils. Good fats are going to be more like your olive oil, your coconut oil. You don't want that vegetable oil. And a lot of places you go to fry their foods in vegetable oil. Why? It's cheaper. It's cheaper to buy that. So it's not on the healthy end of it. The other thing is fried foods are battered. What are they battered with? Flour. Sometimes a little bit of sugar goes in that. And flour is a carb. Carb turns into sugar. So flour, whenever you're looking at white flour, that is not a good thing to have in your diet. So, okay, that means bread. That means pasta. There's a lot of things, but we're not going to do that right now. All we're going to do is simple adjustments to where you don't feel like you're failing at something. You're just adding to what you're already doing. Over time, if you bulk up on the fruits and vegetables, you're naturally going to get full. And so I'm not telling you can't have a garlic breadstick from Olive Garden. I'm not telling you that. I'm saying that you're going to want less of it. I used to go to Olive Garden. I would eat 4 breadsticks before my food came. I got smart and started asking for my salad first, and then breadsticks to come with the meal. So then that way I'd load up on salad and get full and eat less breadsticks. And then when I ordered my pasta, because I love pasta, I'm still going to eat pasta to a certain degree. But what I would do is I would get a side of broccoli. And I'd tell them do a double side of broccoli. So I would kind of eat that first and then tinker with my pasta. And then I would always take my pasta in a to-go box, take it home. Well, I was excited because I was going to get to eat pasta tomorrow. So life was good. And then I could steam some broccoli at home tomorrow. So I got 2 meals in one. I felt good that I was getting my money's worth. And psychologically, I was eating everything that I wanted. I wasn't telling myself, no, you can't have it. It's just making those little adjustments. Over time, you're going to find that you're going to like the flavor of the foods. You're going to realize there's some great flavors that you never experienced before that's now going to come out. Your palate's going to change. And so slow process, but wonderfully successful process. So you're getting those antioxidants, you're getting your fiber, you're getting your magnesium, you're helping to lower blood pressure, you're helping to control your sugars and stabilize your insulin. So, is sugar bad for you? Not all sugar. Thank you for watching. Email your success stories about sugar or your struggles about sugar to Sheri at renewwithsheri.com. I hope you're ready to get your sweetness on with the right kind of sugar now. And I look forward to helping you continue to help you on this journey as you renew you.